Why everyone compares Sanji with Zoro. I believe Sanji has shown the most leadership out of all the Straw Hats. Here are some main examples in order of their occurrence. Firstly, let me tell you one thing. Luffy is the leader, Zoro is the first mate, Sanji is the quartermaster, and Usopp is the second mate. What is needed to be a quartermaster? A quartermaster is a leader of a ship, settles disputes between crewmates, doles out punishment, keeps his captain in check, and is in charge of the crew during the captain's absence on the vessel. What is a leader? A leader is someone who inspires those under them. They help them achieve the greatest results by inspiring others to do more than what they believe possible. The incident in Water 7 was a great time for Sanji to show off his leadership, and he did it well. When Luffy and Usopp first began to argue, Sanji consistently told both of them to calm down before they said something they would regret. However, the true showing of Sanji as the quartermaster took place in this panel. This trend of Sanji controlling the crew continued throughout this arc. Immediately after the fight, Sanji held back Chopper from giving Usopp medical attention because he knew that Usopp would merely see it as pity. For now, we're going to skip ahead to Sanji's scene on the train. On that train were two individuals who were not Straw Hats, and Sanji still acted like the leader of this small group of him, Franky, and Sniper King. Even Franky, the boss of Water 7, listened to him. After the train, once they all landed in the Tower of Justice, Sanji once again controlled the crew and discussed battle strategy. He ensured that the crew had the highest chance of success by assessing his surroundings and relaying a plan that best suited the situation. Once again, this theme of Sanji inspiring and leading his crew continues. This panel of him and Usopp is one of the best showcases of leadership from a crew member. It's a strong parallel to what Luffy said back in Arlong Park, that he can't do it alone and that he needs others to help him. Finally, when Usopp wanted to return to the crew, Zoro spoke up in denial. He set Luffy straight like a good first mate should. Zoro has always been the seriousness that Luffy lacked. However, Sanji is the one who convinced the rest of the crew that Zoro was right. Nami and Chopper were ready to argue with Zoro on this point until Sanji told them to listen to Zoro, and no one spoke up afterward. This is what I mean by Zoro being the first mate and Sanji being the quartermaster. Then we cut forward to Thriller Bark. Sanji was prepared to sacrifice his life to save Luffy and Zoro. He knew the importance of every crew member for Luffy's dream, just as Zoro did. Oda even went out of his way to highlight that it wasn't just Zoro through Brook's dialogue with Sanji. I think these examples showcase Sanji as another leader of the crew, and a very good one at that. Now let's consider Sanji's portrayal in the story. Sanji's backstory is the most similar to Luffy's out of the crew. 1. Luffy and Sanji are both searching the world for a treasure that may or may not exist. However, it's still their dream. 2. Luffy and Sanji are both seen as wrong by the family members that raised them. Garp wishing Luffy was not a pirate, Judge hating that Sanji is normal. 3. Both have inherited the will of past generation pirates. And to protect these children, each pirate gave up something. Shanks sacrificed his arm, Zeph sacrificed his leg. 4. Sanji and Luffy had an entire arc dedicated to their relationship. Sanji is the only Straw Hat to get 2 arcs dedicated to his background and his relationship with the crew. When Killer and Beppo went forward to fight the Marines on Saba Odi, Oda showcased Sanji first rather than Zoro. When the crew was splintered with Nami, Brook, Chopper, and Sanji, Sanji was the one to take control, even when they met the ship of an emperor on board. Finally, although he jokes about letting people sacrifice themselves for the women, he's always willing to sacrifice himself for the men of the crew as well. He was willing to do it to save Zoro on Thriller Bark, he did it to save Usopp on Skypiea, and he was willing to fight an enemy far stronger than him to give the Sunny time to escape from Doflamingo. Zoro is the Straw Hat's demon, while Sanji is the Straw Hat's guardian angel. Both are equally important, and Luffy can't be Pirate King without either one. I think Zoro and Sanji both serve the role of being Luffy's protectors and like bodyguards who prevent the unnecessary from getting in his way. I have noticed throughout the series, as recently as the Stampede movie actually, that whenever the crew ends up splitting up, Sanji is almost always in the team opposite to Luffy and becomes the de facto leader of that group, and Zoro is always with Luffy. Usually what ends up happening is that Luffy's instinctual sense of what he needs to do and who he needs to take down kicks in, and Zoro kind of recognizes that and will step in if someone tries to get in the way. Like with Pika. Luffy had already set his mind to taking down Doflamingo, and when Pika tried to interfere, Zoro stepped in and basically told him that he had no business with his captain, and he had to deal with him if he wanted to get to Luffy. I think both can be seen as taking control of a situation, even if Sanji's is a more outright example of leadership. This analysis is not designed to downgrade Zoro. Never did I say Zoro is below Sanji or anything of the sort. I'm merely acknowledging Sanji's and Zoro's roles in the crew, Zoro as Luffy's sword and Sanji as his shield.